Welcome back to Forward Progress. It's an AFC West division preview presented by Fanduel. You guys seen this already before. You know what we're going to do here. We're going to talk all four teams in the AFC West, talk stock up, stock down, and then give our favorite little futures bet at the end of the show. We're going to start with, of course, the top of the board and work our way down, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs. Heartbreaking loss for them in the Super Bowl. Not only was it heartbreaking, but it was a stomping. They got absolutely destroyed. The biggest issue with them in the Super Bowl seemed to be their offensive line, and I think it might have gotten worse from last year. I'm curious to hear your opinion on this. They lost Joe Thuney. They brought in Jalen Moore. I guess they expect Kingsley Suamataia to step up and replace Thuney, but those are really big shoes to fill. At the end of the day, though, they have Patrick Mahomes. I'm not too worried about this team, but just in general, I guess, as you define stock up, stock down, what are your opinions on the Kansas City Chiefs? Is it stock up for them or is it stock down?
It's stock up for me, at least relative to. I'm gonna use the market here as the barometer. I think if there's any signal in the market right now, or people are using that as signal as like what happened in the Super Bowl, then great, I will buy. Like this is it's one game, and to your point, have Patrick Mahomes. But where I think the kind of argument really lies here is like, in some ways, I think this is the best receiving core that Mahomes is going to have had since very early on, which is like hopefully a full season of Marquise Brown. Like they really changed how Xavier Worthy was being utilized over the second half of the season. A lot of kind of the quick reads and less of the vertical stuff, which is where I think Brown will occupy. I mean, we'll see what happens with Rashee Rice in suspension and coming off a possible suspension coming off a torn ACL, but he should be there for most of the season. And like Rice was a revelation. Guy was awesome in his rookie season, was on his way to having an absolutely terrific kind of year two, and I think can really kind of play that sort of role that Kelsey had played over the intermediate areas of the field. And sure, if you get some kind of production out of Kelsey, that can only be a bonus. And like this is still Patrick Mahomes. This is still a guy who is terrific at evading sacks and pressure, which makes the stuff on the offensive line a little less important than it would kind of your typical quarterback. Though, like there were some warning signs last year, absolutely. Like the pressure to sack numbers went up. Mahomes was certainly not the same, and though they went to the Super Bowl, a lot of the fundamentals would suggest this was not as good of a Chiefs team. So that's perhaps the case to the downside. But ultimately, like you trust Mahomes. This is still a pretty solid defense. They've got a lot of key pieces. Like Chris Jones is getting up there in age, but the production has not slowed down. I don't see why that should change this year. Like George Karlaftis has turned into a really excellent player. Trent McDuffie's one of the best corners in football. They've got a lot of talent, and like this is Patrick Mahomes. He's got a great receiving core this year, I think. And if the market is kind of like a little lukewarm on the Chiefs, it's time to buy.
Sounds good here. Listen, I don't want to be the one to step in front of the Chiefs, and I don't think you want to either. Currently, right now, their win total is listed at 11.5. Juice towards the under -125, plus 105 towards the over, and for them to win the division, listed at -120. Yeah, curious to see how they operate with this receiving core if they can get them all together at once. Marquise Brown, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy. Looks like a lot of young, fun talent. Let's get into our next team here, the Los Angeles Chargers, who did a complete 180 last year after Jim Harbaugh comes in and completely resets the culture. Completely different looking team from the Chargers that we knew from the past. They make kind of a lot of, we'll call them lateral moves, like moving Puna forward for Tier Tart, Christian Fulton, Dante Jackson. They get Elijah Molden. They sign Najee Harris. They sign a guard in Mekhi Becton, which helps strength up their interior offensive line, which kind of got bullied by the Houston Texans in the playoffs last year. Los Angeles Chargers, big stock up last year, but what about heading into 2025? Stock up or stock down?
I'm going to say major stock down here. Talking about like changing the culture, all these things, like nice kind of, I mean, I guess it's possible it's true. And also, I think, if you're on the right side of variance and win a bunch of games, then all of a sudden there's a culture change. But like notably, they somehow got worse, at least so far this season, and it's possible they obviously fixed this in the draft. They got worse at the position that they have desperately needed for years now, which is wide receiver. Which is like they lost Josh Palmer, who's not great, but is being replaced by the corpse of Mike Williams, who couldn't separate 3 years ago, and certainly can't now. I mean, like, Lon McConkey's awesome. Quentin Johnston, I guess, took a step forward last year, but I think by all indications is a bust given his draft status. And like, they, I think, signal what they want to do, which is like run the football. They signed Mekhi Becton, they signed Najee Harris. They had a lot of their success from the defense last year, which again, like, I think is relatively unstable. They lost Joey Bosa. Like, Khalil Mack is getting up there. Like, they do not have a lot of talent on this team. Like, Dante Jackson does not excite me as an outside corner. Like, I think that's a guy's a liability. Like, he was like 110th in PFF grade. Obviously, that's not the be all and end all, but like, Benjamin St. Juste is starting a corner. Like, that he's still starting in football is surprising. I mean, again, it's possible they worked that out in the draft, but like, there are a lot of weak links here. And like, sure, you have Justin Herbert as quarterback, and that matters a lot. I just don't trust that they're like going to let Herbert drop back to pass 40 times. And if they are, like, who's he throwing to? All that is to say, like, I think this was a team that was certainly a surprise last year. And I think a lot of that has to do with their defense. I don't think the defense is going to be able to repeat that same level of success. I don't think they're going to put the ball in Herbert's hands for him to kind of succeed. And if the market's kind of building in anticipation of last year, I just don't necessarily see that repeating itself. It's a fragile way of team building.
Yeah, fair enough. And the Los Angeles Chargers plus 320 to win the division. Pretty large gap between them and the Kansas City Chiefs. Jeff Feinberg, you're on Philadelphia's hit list. Now you're going to be on Jeff Feinberg's hit list next. The Chargers right now, 9.5 wins, juiced towards the under on Fanduel, minus 135. The over is priced at plus 115. Before we get into the next two teams, I want to quickly give a shout out to our sponsors over at Fanduel. It might be the offseason, but if you want to bet on the NFL draft and NFL futures, Fanduel is the place to go for that action. Just head over to Fanduel, take a look at their NFL draft prop menu. They got tons of options out there. Who's going to go number 1 overall, number 2 overall, number 3 overall, number 4 overall, number 5 overall, and so much more. Team to draft: Shadur Sanders, Ashton Jeanty, anything you can think of, it's probably there on Fanduel. Just visit fanduel.com/forward progress to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's fanduel.com/forward progress. Next team on the board for us is the Denver Broncos, another team that kind of, I'm going to use that word again, experienced a culture shift. But I will say their defense did improve quite a bit last year. They looked pretty good on the field with Sean Payton and the entire coaching staff really squeezing the most out of this defense here. And it seems like it's only gotten better. I mean, they bring in Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, get a little bit of help on the offensive side of the ball, bring in Evan Ingram. Big question here is Bo Nix. Is he going to take a step forward, step back? Is he going to stay the same? What's going to go happen here with Bo Nix and this offense? Price plus 360 right now to win the division. Judah, what are your thoughts on the Denver Broncos? Stock up or stock down?
Yeah, stock neutral, I think. Like, based on your description, it almost makes me want to go stock down. So maybe I'll say slightly lean down, actually, which is like, yeah, they, had a culture shift. They, the defense improved, i.e. they played a bunch of really bad offenses. Like, the team was, if you want to look like on a game-to-game level, really struggled against formidable opponents. But by the same token, like, they did add some, like, pieces. I think, like, Trey Greenlaw is still a solid player. Like, Hufanga, very solid safety. Like, these are guys that should add and, like, in some ways combat the regression that they experienced. And like, there's a lot of talent here. Patrick Surtain's obviously an all-world cornerback. That matters. And on the offensive side, like, I really trust. I certainly trust kind of Sean Payton and the offense to maximize production. Of, like, these are not huge names at receiver, but like, we've seen this game before with Payton. I think Bo Nix was like pretty bad last season. Or was in the like average to bad category. And that was still enough for them to be kind of like a mid team, not even just to making the playoffs, but it's just like they're power rated, I think, as somewhere around mid. And like, I think there's only upside there of like Nick can probably get better and probably will get better. Again, that's just like how quarterbacks tend to develop. But yeah, I think this is a defense. This is a team that overachieved last year from a wins perspective relative to their fundamentals, I think, and still has they lack a lot of that sort of elite talent outside of kind of Patrick Surtain and like Bo Nix. I don't think is going to emerge into a top 10 quarterback, and that's not necessarily the recipe for sustained success as a theme, I think, in these sorts of breakdowns. So all in all, neutral, maybe slight down, just because of I think there's almost some element of like, oh, this is a team that made the playoffs last year, but I don't think they were really a playoff team last year. So stock neutral down.
Stock neutral and down. Denver Broncos regular season win total on Fanduel 9.5 right now, minus 145 towards the under, plus 125 towards the over. Feels a little bit high, even with that extra juice down at the bottom. Even though you said neutral / stock down, still to me feels a little bit high. Let's get into our last team we have on the list. The Las Vegas Raiders, listed as 10-1 to win their division. Biggest thing for the Raiders this offseason, they bring in Pete Carroll and they bring in Geno Smith. I mean, based on the quarterback play they had last year and kind of the head coaching circus that went on last year, this is definitely an upgrade for them. How much of an upgrade is it? Not really sure. Not really much noteworthy things that they did in the offseason to write home about. So, Judah, tell me, thoughts on Pete Carroll, thoughts on Geno Smith, stock up for the Raiders or stock down?
Yeah, I would say stock up. But I won't define stock relative to market. I'll define it relative to the sort of other teams and how we've discussed them. And that is like Geno Smith is a much better quarterback than what they were getting last year from AOC and Gardner Minshew. Like he I don't think is going to win you 12 games, but he's also good enough to get you to that 6, 7, 8 win mark. And like this is a team that like Jacoby Myers is he's like a solid receiver. Brock Bowers had a historic year as a tight end. Trey Tucker will always have a sweet spot in my heart as a deep play threat. Like those are some pieces there. This is not like it's not a great unit, but like it is formidable. And again, we're talking about teams with very, very low expectations. And I also just want to discount like. I don't know what Pete Carroll's doing as a head coach, but like Antonio Pierce was not it. Whether it was from a game management perspective or any of the other stuff. And this is a team that dealt with injuries last season. Max Crosby missed some time. Christian Wilkins missed a bunch of time. Like there are plenty of pieces there for them to be somewhat successful, which is to really say like there's some floor here. And between Geno Smith, the quarterback, they're obviously like trying to win now for what that's worth. And I think this team can be formidable, and given how I've defined expectations, it's just like, all right, Raiders suck. That's going to have to mean stock up.
All right, fair enough. Their win total right now, 6.5, minus 140 towards the over, plus 120 towards the under. My biggest question with this team is Chip Kelly still an NFL offensive coordinator? I mean, by definition he is, but is he going to be able to keep up with the offense, the new offense in 2025? Before we head out here, Judah, final question for you, whether it be a division to win the division bet or a win total, give us your best bet or just your favorite future that's currently available on the board. Gun to your head right now, forcing you to play it.
Chargers under. I think they're signaling what they want to do. That's not the recipe for success, which is run the football on offense, rely on the defense they had last year, and I just don't think that's a recipe for success given some of the talent they lost, and like you're not going to have the same schedule of opponents this season that I think kind of led to their success. But hey, maybe Jesse Minter's the real deal, and I'll be wrong.
All right, we'll have to see. Under 9.5 right now, listed at minus 135. That wraps it up for us here today. And a reminder, if you have made it this far in the video, that means you like our content. So please do us a favor, smash that like button down below. And while you're there, drop us a little comment. If you're a Chargers fan, maybe if you're Jeff Feinberg, tell Judah how much you dislike his Chargers takes, or just give us your general takes on this division, who you think is going to win. If there's any bets on the board you still like, or if you just want to tell us that we're wrong about stuff, happy to hear all the conversation happening in the comment section down below. And again, if you're new here and you enjoy this content, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. We've got tons more content coming your way, including potentially a live stream for the draft. We're still working on that. We'll see what happens there. And that wraps it up for us today. Thanks guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.